Hello, this is Father Louis Skirty with Friends of the Word, together with my friend and Deputy Chief Angelo Daniele of Haledon, New Jersey.
How are you, Father? Thank you.
Thank you again. I've been here before, and Angelo and I have known each other for quite a few years, and he's just gradually came up the ranks, and he is now Deputy Chief here in Haledon. And my first question now in this next segment is, any significant events happen since you are a policeman? And what is the most significant events that have affected you as a policeman?
I want to say, Father, in 2001, specifically September 11th, I was in the police academy as a full-time police officer. I was actually sworn in on June 20th of 2001 as a full-time cop. I went into the academy, I want to say September 3rd or 4th, right after Labor Day. 9/11, I never forget it. I was sitting at the Passaic County Police Academy only a few days into the academy, and we were in the middle of class, and the PT instructors, the drill instructors, came into the classroom and filed everybody from our classroom into the amphitheater, which is like a movie auditorium room.
Sure.
And we were wondering what was going on. We noticed that the PT instructors were like really distraught, and where everybody was a little bit nervous. We thought it was some sort of a practice drill or whatever. So we sit down in the amphitheater at the academy, and they got the big screen on, and they're showing us a picture of the first tower that was hit. We couldn't believe our eyes, to be honest with you. I mean, to this day, it gives me chills, and we didn't know what was going on. So shortly later, the second plane hit the second tower, and they dismissed us from the academy immediately. They instructed us to go to our respective police departments to see if they needed us in any capacity. I came right to our police department, which at the time was at the old police department at 413 Belmont Avenue, at this new facility that we have. And I reported at that time to our Chief Jerry Gamble, and unfortunately there was not much that I could do due to the fact that I was just a new cadet. So they asked me, obviously, I stayed at headquarters at the remaining of the day and sat at the desk and assisted whatever we need. They were obviously calling for multiple first responders from different police departments, fire departments, paramedics, EMS to respond. At that time, we didn't send anybody from our department to go over there at that time. They were sending more, departments with more manpower and more apparatus.
How many people, how many men and women do we have?
At that time, in 2001, there was 19 of us, 19 full-time police officers. Right now, we have 17 full-time police officers. That's including me as well, too. We're going to have shortly, we're going to put some new recruits into the academy. We're looking at right now 17 class 2s, and we have about 15 class 1s. Plus we have civilian dispatchers and stuff like that. So we're definitely looking, between about 60 officers within the department, between class 1s, class 2, full-time police officers, and some civilians as well too. We also oversee the crossing guards as well too. We have 9 crossing guards as well too.
So we'll go back to 9/11. So you were there at the...
when that had happened, they actually had us go back to the academy the next day. They said basically the show must go on. And I call myself a 9/11 baby. And basically like I was born. I felt like I was born that time, because to be in the police academy during that time era, actually it was 2 trainees in my academy class that were currently in the military. One was in the Army, one was in the Navy. The guy that was actually in the Army at the time, he is actually a police officer at Pumpkin Lakes. He had to come out of the academy, and he got deployed. Deployed immediately to go overseas. And then he came back to the academy in another class in order to complete it. the officer from the Navy, they did not deploy him right away. He ended up finishing the academy.
Okay.
So like I said, the next day we came back to the academy. They drilled into our heads. Listen, the show must go on. We don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
And obviously, more planes striking.
Everybody was
between Pennsylvania and the Pentagon.
right.
So we didn't know what was going to happen. We're obviously going to war. So they were attacking, obviously, our homeland here. So they needed us to be trained as best as possible. Actually, at that time, our police academy was actually very military orientated and ran. At that time, they had a Passaic County sheriff's officer who is retired now. He was actually a Marine Corps drill instructor for 8 years in Parris Island. So he also took two other drill instructors under his wing that were Middlesex County police officers that were just currently out of the Marine Corps. So it was funny that I was speaking about before how I wanted to go in the Marines so bad, and I got hired as a full-time dispatcher. Well, I basically got a form of a Marine Corps boot camp because we literally had, like I said, our head drill instructor, former Marine drill instructor in Parris Island, with his two right-hand men that were just out of the Marine Corps. So it was a very, very military-oriented ran police academy, and let me tell you something, I was in my glory. I really was in my glory. I loved it. There was nothing that they could do to me that I didn't wanted more and more and more of.
Go into that, the psyche of that. Where does that come from?
Well, for me, it was definitely my household. There's no doubt about that. So it was so funny because I used to say to everybody, there was nothing that Marine Corps drill instructor could do to me that my mother didn't do to me.
Oh, good Italian mother.
Yeah, and besides that, I also, obviously, I went to an auxiliary academy, a Class 1 academy, and now the regulars academy. So I went to 3 academies within a 5-year period. So I was really prepared. And we were so focused. We actually started that academy with 64 people and got down to 46. Some people dropped out or got recycled. But my academy class, I felt like we were kind of like blessed in a way as well too, because our training was so intense, because based off of 9/11, because of all those, those type of events that had happened, that we were just so much more focused in on. We didn't know what was going to go on when we graduated and be so prepared. And unfortunately, obviously, we've been experienced to a lot more events after 9/11 as well too. So I kind of feel like I said, I was a little bit blessed in a way that had that type of training,
You were born there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I said I call myself a 9/11 baby, because, I mean, even if like you were in boot camp at that time when that had happened, I'm sure every single boot camp, everything got heightened up, because sometimes, the academy, it's like waves, it's strict one day, they're a little lackadaisy, strict one day, and they do that purposely to get you a little bit comfortable, and all of a sudden they turn the heat up. Well, the heat was turned on for 26 weeks straight. And from the day that we started until the day we ended, and our whole entire academy was basically based off of 9/11, which I actually kind of like I said, I liked it in a way too. Like I felt more patriotic. Like I was actually doing something. I couldn't wait to graduate and get on the road and
And getting on the road, you were coming here to serve in Halden, but still it was a military police combination in your personality.
And at that time too, obviously everybody in the world became very, very very tight, very united,
and patriotic,
very very patriotic. Matter of fact, I wanted to do something patriotic, so I actually tattooed on my arm from here down to here, an American eagle with the American flag. I wanted to do something patriotic, as far as to represent this country. Obviously, like we've spoken about my military background and stuff, or, with my family, I should say. It's always still inside of me. I mean, between police and military, it's in my blood.
It's interesting that it's in your blood. Now that's I find that fascinating, and I guess many people in different careers, theater people. I went to theater because my mother was an actress. Obviously, there's no priests in my family before me. But it's in your blood. It's a calling, and you call that before a calling, a vocation.
It's a calling too, and I didn't really recognize this, is leadership. All right, my father was a sergeant. All right,
Your mother was a sergeant.
Yeah, right. Literally. My twin brother, sergeant. My older brother, captain. My nephew was a captain in the Marine Corps, and then now I'm the deputy chief. There's always been some sort of leadership, and you know what? It's like a natural thing. It's just very, very strange.
You don't follow, you lead.
Yeah, it's just very, very strange. It's like I feel like this was my calling, the way everything just came about. And it's so funny because people, say that, oh, your career goes so quickly. I'll tell you, the 20 years that I've been in law enforcement, I don't think it went quickly at all.
That's great.
It really did it. I enjoyed every bit of it, and I wouldn't trade it in for the world. But it definitely, did not go as quickly as they usually say it does.
Accepting orders and giving orders.
Yeah.
To talk about that.
I've never had a problem, as far as accepting orders. I was always, set into that type of.
So there's a confidence in the leadership who's giving you the orders. I
Yes.
guess.
Yes, and I've learned from a lot of officers throughout the years over here, as far as following their lead as well too. Officers that have retired here from, Jerry Gamble to retired Deputy Chief Robert Franco, a lot of the sergeants here, Sergeant Abaza, Sergeant Kalala Capuccio, so there was a lot of strong leadership over here that Deputy Chief Gahan, I can't forget him, he was actually in office when I also made a sergeant, and I followed his lead. We used to be partners at one time as well too.
Great.
So there was a lot of strong qualities and a lot of officers throughout this department as far as leaders, and I've definitely hopped on that horse and followed them. So.
As we conclude this section of our interview, I want you to talk about that flag that we took out of.
This flag right here, we have a special police officer in this department, a Class 1 by the name of Kevin Patino. I brought him on here about a year ago. He actually started off at the Halda Fire Department. He resigned from there and he came to the police department as a Class 1. He is currently in the U.S. Army. He was deployed to go to Afghanistan. He was there for a little over a year. When he came back, he presented me this flag that was actually flown over Afghanistan. That was given to him, and he actually had two of them. He gave one to the fire department here in town, and he gave one to me.
That's great.
Which I hold dearly of, and I've actually not unfolded it at all. Actually, it was part of our ceremony for the 9/11
Yes.
At the Mass.
Right.
So, yes, and I thank him for that. I honor for him every time.
That's great. That's great.
We actually have a few officers here that were in the military. We have Sergeant Conca, who was in the Coast Guard for 10 years. He was a military police officer.
Wow.
And then we have Officer Michael Palmer, who was a U.S. Marine for 4 years. He actually was in combat. He was overseas in Afghanistan. We actually hired him on a military grant 3 years ago.
So this combination of military and police appreciation is in the bloodstream of the people you have working with you.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I mean, obviously, police work is a paramilitary form.
Yes.
I try to, obviously, I have a great department. I can never say anything bad about a lot of these officers. I've seen them, come up the ranks just like me, from Class 1 to Class 2 to regular. Some of them have been promoted. I was a field training officer for quite some time before I was promoted to lieutenant and officer in charge. I have other field training officers that take care of the new officers that come out of the academy. But that was like one of my faves was training new officers.
What an interview. Okay, we're going to pick up again, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
This has been Father Louis Gertie. If you are halfway taken up with Deputy Chief Daniele as I am, it's unbelievable. The history, the connections, the enthusiasm, the military and police work in his bloodstream and his family. This has been wonderful, and I really appreciate you sharing such personal insights. Thank you, and we'll be back.
Thank you, Father.
This has been Father Louis Gertie. Let me hear from you, fatherlouisgertie@hotmail.com. God bless you.